Hello and welcome. My name is Kathy Nguyen, and I am a certified HR professional with both HRCI and SHRM. I have over a decade of experience working for national and global Fortune 500 companies and have taught thousands of students preparing for HR certification exams. In this video, we are diving into a topic that's very important for many HR certification exams. It's about test-taking tips on how you can handle situational test questions effectively. Before we dive in, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell so you never miss out on valuable HR certification tips and guidance. Now, let's get started. Tackling situational test questions on the exam requires a strategic approach. These questions often present you with real-world scenarios that HR professionals might face. To answer them effectively, consider the following steps. Step 1. Understand the scenario. You need to read the situation carefully and pay attention to the details, including the individuals involved, the context, and any specific issues or challenges that the question poses, and then determine the primary issues, the key issues. Ask yourself what HR principle or best practices are at stake here. And then identify the HR competency that are relevant to the scenario in questions. Consider any ethical implications. So reviewing the best practices, the ethical guidelines that provided throughout the course, and then applying those into how you would analyze the options. Ask yourself any ethical aspects of the scenarios that would be in conflict with what you know as the Code of Ethics and Professional Standards. Look for the options that aligns best with the HR competency and ethical considerations that you have learned throughout the course. Eliminate the incorrect options. Rule out the option that clearly is incorrect and choose the right answers. So these are the steps that you can use to analyze the scenario and the options to pick the correct answer. Now we will look at some of the practice test questions so you can see how I would apply these into practice. Let's read this question. You are an HR manager in a large corporation. One of your top performing employees, Sarah, has been with the company for over 5 years and recently applied for promotion to a managerial role. She is highly qualified and has consistently received positive performance reviews. However, during the final interview for the new role, the hiring manager expressed concerns about her willingness to travel. Sarah has a young child at home and is hesitant to take on extensive travel responsibilities. So let's look at the key issues in this scenario. In this scenario, you have an employee that is a long-term employee. She's been with the company for over 5 years. She applied for a promotion. She's highly qualified. The hiring manager has now expressed concern about her willingness to travel. Pay attention to the fact that the employee, Sarah, is also hesitant to take on extensive travel responsibilities. So what should you do as the HR manager in this situation? In this situation, as the HR manager, you need to consider both the company's needs and Sarah's personal circumstances. So the correct answer should depend on the company's policies, Sarah's preferences, and the specific situation, what the role needs. Let's analyze each option. Option A, inform the hiring manager that Sarah's personal situation should not impact her eligibility for the promotion and advocate for her. This option does not address the hiring manager's concern about her willingness to travel, and it may not consider the company's need for this specific managerial role. Option B, advise the hiring manager to select another candidate who is more willing to travel. This option prioritizes the company's need for a manager who can travel as required, but it may miss the opportunity to retain a top-performing employee. Option C suggests an alternative managerial role within the company that doesn't require extensive travel and discuss it with Sarah. This option acknowledges Sarah's qualifications and personal circumstances and provides an alternative solution that aligns with the company needs. Option D offers Sarah the promotion but with a reduced travel requirement to accommodate her family situation. This option takes into account both Sarah's qualification and her family situation. However, it does not take into consideration if this would work for the company. So, the most appropriate answer would be option C, as it seeks out to balance the need of the employees and the need of the company. So this one is a tricky scenario. Make sure that when you see a tricky scenario like this, you review the test question first, highlight it, what are some of the key issues here, what do you need to do, and then pick the options that oftentimes balance the needs of the company and the needs of the employee. Next question. Let's read the questions. You are an HR manager in a large organization and you receive an anonymous email containing confidential company information that might be damaging if disclosed publicly. What should you do first? Let's look at the key issues here. You receive an anonymous email that containing confidential company information, and this information might be damaging if disclosed publicly. This scenario asks you to pick the option that you would do first. Pay attention to this. This needs to be the first action. Okay? And identify the HR competency here. So in this scenario, the correct answer needs to follow HR competency related to risk management and investigation, handling the situation discreetly, involving relevant parties. So next, let's analyze the options. Option A, ignore the email as it is anonymous and you cannot verify its authenticity. This option is not the best approach as it involves potentially damaging confidential information that leaking out and will damage the company. So it would lead to serious consequences. So this is not the correct one. We need to eliminate option A. Option B, investigate the matter discreetly, involving the relevant departments to identify the source and take appropriate action. This option demonstrates a proactive approach to address the issue. Investigating discreetly is essential to determine the authenticity and potential impact of the information, and then take appropriate action to mitigate harm. So option B is highly potential to be the correct options, but let's not make the decisions until we analyze all the options. Option C, share the email with the entire HR team to gather insights on how to handle the situation. Sharing the email with the entire HR team may not be advisable initially. Remember, the question asks you, what is your first course of action? Because this action could risk further leaks or breaches of confidentiality. So it's important to maintain discretion when you handle potentially sensitive information. So this is not a correct one. Let's cross this one. Option D, forward the email to your superior further guidance in handling. While this step seems to be a reasonable step, you don't have the correct information yet. You don't know the authenticity of this email. So this would be the next step after you are sure that you have investigated the matter discreetly and you have the information to confirm that this is a potential crisis. So this is not the first action that you would do. So now we review all the options and analyze them. The best course of action would be B, investigate the matter discreetly, because in this option, you look into the matter as the HR manager, you identify the source, you identify if this is the correct information before you bubbling this information up to your superior and other departments. Last question. As an HR leader for a large retailer, you are responsible for the company's annual benefits enrollment process. A group of employees claims they were unable to complete the enrollment due to technical issues on the last day of the enrollment period. What should you do? Let's analyze this scenario. You're responsible for the company annual benefits enrollment. So this scenario is related to the HR competency of employee relations and benefit administration, because the employees were unable to complete the enrollment due to technical issues on the last day. They cannot enroll. So what should you do in this scenario as the HR leader? Let's look at the options here and analyze each option. Option A, explain that it was the employee responsibility to complete the enrollment on time and that the company cannot make exception. This option may be perceived as rigid and unsympathetic to employee concerns, especially when it's come to employees' compensation and benefits. The employer need to show their empathy, especially in this scenario, the issue is a technical issue. So this can lead to dissatisfaction among affected employees because it wasn't their personal fault to miss the deadline. So let's eliminate option A. Option B, extend the enrollment period for those affected and communicate the extension clearly to all employees. This option is a reasonable option to address the reported technical issues. It ensures that affected employees have a fair opportunity to complete their benefits enrollment and is aligned with the employee-centric oriented approach. So this is a potential correct answer. But again, let's not jump to conclusion until you analyze all the options. Option C, offer the affected employees a small compensation as a goodwill gesture without extending the enrollment period. This option does not address the key issue in this scenario, which is enabling affected employees to enroll in benefits. So it's not a correct option. This is a band-aid option rather than a proactive response to the problem. Let's eliminate option C. Last options. Option D, notify the affected employees that they will not have benefits coverage for the year. This option is likely to result in significant dissatisfaction among affected employees and may lead to legal or employee relation issues. It does not consider the reported technical issues that prevented enrollment. And again, the reported technical issues were not the employee's fault, right? It possibly the company's fault. So this is not the correct answer either. So the most appropriate response in this situation would be option B. That is the end of this lecture. Remember that practice is key to mastering situational questions. You should utilize exam prep materials, including sample questions and mock exams to refine your skill in applying HR competencies to real-world scenarios. And you will be well prepared to tackle these questions effectively on your exams.